The Oklahoma House recently passed a resolution condemning violence and hateful rhetoric against Asian Americans. It's an issue Latino communities have also been struggling with as tensions rise along our southern border. In this week's in-depth conversation, Susan Cadot welcomes local leaders from both communities to discuss the problems they face and what the solutions might be going forward.
All right, thank you, Rich. Yes, this is an important issue, and it's a timely issue. And sadly, it's one we've been addressing for quite a while. I have a panel of guests here to help me dig into some of the details of the issue of racism, the problem of hate across America, and sometimes, yes, here in Oklahoma. I'd like to introduce my guests to you. Dr. Raul Font, who is president of the Latino Community Development Agency. We have Thun Huynh, who is the executive director of the Asian District Cultural Association, and Jorge and Brenda Hernandez, who are with the founder, president, CEO. They've done everything with Tango PR. And all of these folks work in our community to help make Oklahoma a better place. Thank you all for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
And I will say we've all agreed to do first names today, so we're going to keep it very casual here. First of all, I'd like to start with your backgrounds. And Raul, I'd like to begin with you. I want to get your background just quickly so we know where you're coming from as we move further into our conversation.
Street kid from Chicago, born from Puerto Rican family. Made my way to Puerto Rico at 11. Coach gave me a basketball, changed my life. I became an educator, and I have been working with minorities since then.
And you've been doing a lot of that work here in Oklahoma, correct?
That's correct. I did leave twice and went to different states to work with schools. That's my background, and troubled schools and diversity schools.
All right. And Thun, give us a little bit about your background, where you're from and what you're about.
My mom and I was immigrants, and I came to the United States when I was 4. Mm-hmm. I was a refugee. We left Vietnam and came here with nothing to America. We ended up in Oklahoma. I've been a resident of Oklahoma for about over 35 years now. Hometown, Del City is where I grew up, went to OU, and then have a background in public health as well. And right now I'm a small business owner in the Asian district as well. And
you're a proponent of the Asian community here in Oklahoma City, is that right?
Yes, ma'am. I'm currently the president, I guess, executive director of the Asian District Cultural Association.
All right, thank you. And Jorge and Brenda, you're both sharing a screen today, so things must be going well for you both. Tell me a little bit about you guys. What are the Hernandezes about?
Well, I am Brenda Hernandez. I am the daughter of Mexican immigrants. I was actually born in California, in LA, and raised part of my early years in Mexico, actually, and later returned to California and ended up in Oklahoma City. And now we're here. We founded Tango Public Relations. We are small business owners and just love working with our Hispanic community and being able to connect them to resources and services.
Yes, Jorge, you guys are connected with the Hispanic community and with building community with everyone here in Oklahoma. Is that right?
That is correct. I've had the fortunate opportunities to work with organizations like the LCDA from many years ago. And because of their efforts and their mission, I was introduced to a lot of people that helped move and shape the Latino community. And I've been involved ever since. I am a native of Mexico. I was raised in Texas, and then in 91 came to study college here at Southern Nazarene University. And I've been involved in the community ever since. I met this wonderful lady and I married to her, and now I love Oklahoma. And we've been here for 31 years now.
Yeah.
31 years now.
Been here longer than anywhere.
That's wonderful. I love Oklahoma too. Raul, I want to talk to you about what was your experience like through the years as a minority in America and then as a minority in Oklahoma. And what I'm wondering is, we talk about America and it's so different in so many places. Is Oklahoma different than other places in the nation when it comes to racism, or no?
Well, it's a loaded question. First of all, I want to talk about being a Latino in America.
Okay.
Because the first thing is, there's 20 Spanish-speaking countries.
Mm-hmm.
The federal government decided that we're not a race anymore, so we are a color. I've been teaching cultural studies for years. And so when we get applications, we're either black or white. So in the winter, I'm white, and in the summer, I'm black. So it's ridiculous. So we have to fight existence. Okay, so in my case, Puerto Ricans are American citizens, no matter if they were born in America or they were born in Puerto Rico. And my diaspora family lineage, we have African Americans on my dad's side who really created Puerto Rico and developed it. And then on my mom's side, she came from Spain, or her ancestors came from Spain. So you could imagine the mix that we have in our family.
Yeah.
And so when I come to Oklahoma, even though I was brought up in the East Coast early in the 60s, that's how old I am, there was really not much dealing with you being Latino, because if you were Latino, it was just another subgroup. But here in Oklahoma, it's kind of different. That's undercultured racism, undercultured biases, and to the point, at some point, a little bit of bigotry.
Mm-hmm.
And it isn't present in Oklahoma.
Undercultured.
Yeah, it's very, it's interesting because when I put my suit and tie, I'm treated very different than what I am in shorts and in a nice car running down South Side with all my jewelry, and I'm stopped because I look that I'm not from this country. So we fight this image of profiling you first on looks, and then once they realize that you may be Latino, then they kind of want to listen to you and see if are you educated? Because if you have an accent, then now maybe you're not educated. And so it's a fight before they even realize who you are. Yeah. And that's living in America.
Toon, are you? I'm sorry, Dr. Toon, are you hearing any similarities between what Dr. Font is saying and what Asian Americans are going through, not only nationally, but in Oklahoma? And recently there were the shootings in Atlanta that has really put a spotlight on the Asian community. What say you about all this?
And I mean, since Atlanta, there has been more incidents that's getting reported. But, first, let's answer your question about growing up as an Asian American. First, you're an immigrant in this country. So, as far as myself, I've grown up, not really fitting the mode of the traditional. And so you have this kind of oppressive kind of feeling that you're going to be held down by society a little bit. As far as Oklahoma, we're significantly a friendlier state. However, growing up, there's still bigotry. There's still racial slurs. There's still things. And you think, hey, being an immigrant, yes, you can feel that way. But for me, personally, my family has my nieces are first generation Asian Americans. They are born here. They're born in America, so they're American. But society has pushed them to where they don't even feel like they belong here sometimes. Because growing up, they get taunted, and they shouldn't have to go through that. And so I feel that more and more this issue has been coming and becoming more and more and bringing to light a lot of different issues in our country. I think the rise in all of this had started like last year when all of the viruses had some connotations to a certain Asian country that kind of hit that mold, and everyone is just looking at us. It feels different now. Going to the grocery store, there's been people who actually just kind of not want to be near me. I mean, even though I say hi and I'm really friendly, they're just like, wait. Yeah. And they'll just like move around, or it's kind of different, you kind of see that in a lot of different faces and around the community now.
Those who don't see this, those to whom it does not happen, So this is real. I've done a lot of interviews about this topic lately. I don't know if that's a sad thing or it's a good thing that it's being talked about. But Jorge and Brenda, it is a real issue. You guys are deep in this community. You've been here 31 years, and it's an issue you still face today?
Yes, it is. I think that, throughout my life, I've experienced some sort of, just being looked at differently because of my features as a Latina. And, recent events, and even since not this election, but the prior election, we saw a lot of it at our schools with our daughter and a lot of her peers, and comments that were made, and I am always teaching my daughter to be proud of who she is, of her features, of her, thick hair, of her thick eyebrows, and proud of who she represents, of the culture that she represents. But I know that there have been comments where her peers have said something about the way she looks. And it's almost as if they want them to be embarrassed of who they are. And so what we are seeing, and this is 2019 when this happened, and then 2018 and so on. And so for me, that just shows me that we have problems, because these kids are not racist by themselves. I mean, this comes from home. This comes from what they are being taught at home. And so there's deep, deep things happening in the home, deep feelings that are being shared to these children. And in return, they're sharing them in the classroom, at school, with their peers. And it's very unfortunate, because that just continues to be passed on from generation to generation.
You had asked if it's different from other states, and it is slightly different in that Latinos in many other states have been around for many more generations than here in Oklahoma. So this is predominantly a first generation community. And so change is always difficult on both ends. And so there's a lot of struggles and challenges that are taking place. And racism isn't like maybe in the early days of this country. Racism, it takes in a different shape and manner. It's about opportunity. It's about inclusivity. It's about, just different, feeling welcomed, being invited. And that's the kind of racism that I felt. Nobody's made fun of my hair or my culture. Well, they make fun of my white hair all the time, but
that's just Brenda though. So,
but they don't make fun of my color. They don't make fun of my accent. But sometimes you do feel like they're wondering, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
What are you bringing to the table that is valuable to me or to us?
And that's what I want to go to Raul for, to talk about political events impacting racism.
Okay. So let me piggyback on racism. I want to piggyback on something that Brenda said, very important. Racism is taught. You're not born racist. And so we could stop this. This for me is a pandemic. We talk about COVID. I mean, I have seen in the last couple of years how this has just exacerbated in our community. And it's because we have this punchline about diversity and inclusion, but there cannot be diversity if there's not inclusion. If I don't include all our races and all our subcultures, then we will become a racist community. And what makes it violence, which is part of this also time that we have here, is when you think that you're superior to somebody else. And I think that is that answer to your question about politics. When you give permission as a leader in this country that your race is more important than somebody else, and if they don't give it to you, you take it, you are inciting violence. And violence, like when we do a lot of domestic violence or we treat domestic violence in our LCDA agency, now the women are saying, I'm not going to get beat up anymore. I'm going to stand up to it. And that's what's happening now. These minorities are saying, enough is enough. I am not standing here and let a group of majorities come in and take away my citizenship, because I think that we're considered second tier citizens.
All right, we have to stop right here, but we'll be back next week with this distinguished panel to talk more about these important issues, not only to Oklahoma, but to the entire nation.